down, shut me out when I needed you. Oh, oh, I'm gonna burn this bridge. I ain't never coming back. No, I ain't never coming back. No, no, no. That girl you know is gone. You can see it in the past. Oh, I ain't never coming back. No, no, no. You lit this fire in me because you never believed that there was fire in me. Now you can't put it out. I'm gonna burn this bridge. I ain't never coming back. No, I ain't never coming back. No, no, no.
Primary research. That's research that we as an organization initiated. We initiated that research. That's known as primary research. Secondary research is research that was conducted by somebody else. Not somebody else that like works for our company or a consulting firm that we hired, but somebody else, a third party, already conducted the research. That's known as secondary research. That's usually relatively inexpensive. We should use secondary research to prepare for our primary qualitative research. So, an example, you could get industry reports, state of the industry reports, for example, of the beverage category on the website for one of the beverage associations that supports that industry. So executives are members of associations, industry associations. One of them, for example, is like the Beverage Association. And there's also trade publications that executives in those categories and industries read. You could usually find reports on different industry trade association websites and get reports for free. You could also download from market research firms different types of research reports, both focus groups and questionnaires that can be $500, could be $5,000. Now you might think $5,000 is a lot of money, and it is, but compared to spending $50,000 on our own focus groups and $150,000 to do our own questionnaire, $5,000 is not a lot, right? So the first thing we should do is look at the secondary research that's available. Invest in secondary research and use that to prepare for our primary qualitative research, like focus groups. So when we say identify an unmet need, you see there's a lot to that. So I'm just telling you that some of the key activities, one of them is identify an unmet need. The way that we're going to do that is through marketing research. I just gave you a little bit of an overview of what that is. The next thing is to determine a price that the consumer is willing to pay. Then develop a product.
Is that together or something?
No, so I'm going to tell you all 5 of them now. Ready? Here we go. Marketing activities. 5 key marketing activities. The first one is identify an unmet need. The second one, we're going to break this up. The second one is 2 separate points. The second one is develop a product. The third one is, separate point, is determine a price. The fourth one is to gain distribution. Gain distribution. So what is gain distribution? We'll talk about that in a second. The fifth thing is to build awareness. So the 5 activities are identify an unmet need, develop a product, determine the price, gain distribution, and then build awareness. So, another way that we could summarize that is as the marketing mix. So what is the marketing mix? The marketing mix consists of the 4 P's. The 4 P's. So the marketing mix consists of the 4 P's. What are the 4 P's? The 4 P's are product, price, place, and promotion. That's the marketing mix. The marketing mix consists of the 4 P's. Product, price, place, and promotion. Questions? Those are the controllable factors. So in marketing, as marketing executives, we face controllable factors and uncontrollable factors. The controllable factors are the 4 P's, which means what? We determine what product we're going to sell. We determine what price we're going to sell the product for. We determine the place, in other words, the channels of distribution, the retailers where we want to sell the product. Whether it's Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond or Quiggly Wiggly, Publix, Wallbounds, Duane Reade, Rite Aid, we determine the place where we want to have distribution. And we control the promotion, which consists of certainly trade promotions, consumer promotions, and also advertising. But advertising doesn't start with a P. So the model is known as the 4 P's. Product, price, place, and promotion. So what I'm trying to do is give you an overview of marketing. So we've come at it from a number of different angles. We said marketing is about creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging value. We said that marketing is about identifying an unmet need, developing a product, determining a price, gaining distribution, and building awareness. We said that marketing is about 4 P's, product, price, place, and promotion. So when you look at the book and you see 22 chapters, you're kind of like, whoa, what is this all about? I just told you, basically. That's what it's all about. That's what the entire course is about, is those concepts, but we're going to look at them in depth. So the marketing mix consists of the 4 P's. Questions? Yes, go ahead.
Are we having a break or?
No. Let's keep going. We're here till midnight, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I have it on my calendar. It says Brooklyn College, midnight. No, you had the cookies, right? You want some more? I got some more cookies. You sure? Anybody want more cookies? Oreos? Let me take a couple for myself. You know, this is, you're even going fast. You know, this is, you know how they market themselves as America's favorite cookie, which brings us to an important point, which is, we're going to come to is marketing metrics. All right, so we're going to come back to that in a second. But before we do, we're going to keep on going. We can do this. Yes, we can. Look at your neighbor and say, yes, we can. 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 You can do it. Yes, you can. I have a plan for you. I have a plan for you. All right. Now, in chapter 2, we talk about different types of plans. So there's 3 different levels of strategy. 3 different levels of strategy. 3 different plans. So an organization is going to have 3 different plans in place at the same time. The first one is the corporate plan. That's the corporate strategy. So there's a corporate plan. There's a business plan created by the SBUs. SBU, which is Strategic Business Unit. This is in chapter 2. So the Strategic Business Unit. And the third plan is the functional plan. An example of a functional plan would be the marketing plan. So the marketing plan is an example of a functional plan. So there's 3 plans: the corporate plan, the business plan, and the functional plan. Who can tell me what the 3 plans are? Raise your hand. Who can tell me? Go ahead. Madeline.
Corporate plan, business plan contains the SBUs, the strategic business unit, and the functional plan.
Yes, so Madeline said there's 3 types of plan: the corporate plan, the business plan, and the functional plan. An example of the functional plan would be a marketing plan. That's a function, right? So the marketing department is going to have a marketing plan. Now, what's in the corporate plan? One of the things that's discussed in the corporate plan is the mission, the vision, and the values of the organization. So the mission, the vision, and the values are 3 important things that are discussed in the corporate plan. So the senior management team develops a corporate plan that guides the entire organization. So the corporate plan sets the direction for the entire organization. It includes, for example, the mission of the organization. So the mission defines the business. What is the business? What is the business of our organization? What was that? I can't hear you. Who's raise your hand? Okay, Alvin. Well, so you're saying that our mission might be to maximize profit? Yes? Yes, that's one of the causes of the financial crisis, is that executives wanted to maximize profit, maximize shareholder wealth. That has wreaked havoc on the economy worldwide, because the obsession that executives had with maximizing shareholder wealth at the expense of all other things, like doing things ethically, being socially responsible, being responsible to the stakeholders, not just the shareholders, but also the stakeholders, which includes the stockholders, but also the community, and the customers, and the employees. Look at what Enron did. You know, one of the things, besides, you know, obviously, you know, they were involved in fraud. They manipulated their accounting procedures, their books. They falsified their accounting records. But one of the really kind of absurd, bizarre, and obscene things that they did was they scammed their own employees. So when the whole thing unraveled and the company actually went bust, the people who lost nearly everything that they had, in large part, was the employees that had invested in the company. Not just outside random stockholders, which that's bad enough, but large companies have millions of people that invest in their company. But what they did was they really went the extra mile to con their own employees. The people put their life savings into the company, but it was all smoke and mirrors. They exaggerated their earnings, and the whole thing unraveled. Why? Because they were focusing on maximizing the profit of the company, but apparently at any cost. Yes, go ahead.
What type of company was Enron?
They provided energy. They're an energy company. So an example of a mission, let me know. Go ahead, Chanel.
The health organization I worked at before, our mission statement was to provide high-quality health care to the indigent communities of private patients.
Yeah, so to provide health care to the indigent and needy. The Indian community?
So indigent community is
So Chanel is saying to provide healthcare services to those that are indigent, but to do it with dignity. Yeah, so that's a good example of the mission. We're in the healthcare business, and our focus is on helping those that are economically disenfranchised. Another way to describe that is indigent, those people that are from low-income households. That's our focus, but to do that with dignity. What about this one? To explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. What do you think about that as a mission? You like that one? Oh, you guys are Trekkie fans? No, you guys don't know what Star Trek is? You don't know what Star Trek is? You don't know what wrestling is? What about tequila? You know what that is? Oh! What about ganja? Okay, we're on the same page. I think we're, yeah, I got your number now. All right, so that's a good example of a mission. Or to provide high-quality educational devices for K through 12 in North America. So to provide high-quality educational devices for who? Who's our target market? K through 12 students. Where? In North America. So our product is educational devices. Our target market is K through 12 students. And where? In North America. So that defines our business, doesn't it? Now, our vision, though, and sometimes more and more, those terms are becoming synonymous, but they're really not. I know the textbook suggests that they are synonymous, but it's not true, okay? I've been doing this a long time. I know I look like I'm 21, but that was a couple of years, that was last year actually, I was 21. But the vision really is forward-looking. So the mission defines the business that we're in now. The vision suggests where we want our business to be in the future. So our vision would be, let's see how we can modify this. Watch me, watch me. How would we modify this? By saying, to make it a vision, to sell educational devices to all grade levels, including college, in both North and South America, by 2020. So that's our vision, is to sell educational devices to all grade levels. Before we just said K through 12, so now it's all grade levels, including college. Sell educational devices from kindergarten to college, seniors in college. Not just in North America, but our goal is to expand and to sell these educational devices in North America and South America. So that's our vision. That's not where we are right now. We're not selling in South America. But our vision, where we want to be as a business in the future, includes South America, and it includes our target market expanding to include not just K through 12, but also college. Questions? You have to, oh, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. What is your name?
Shamala.
Shamala, okay, go ahead.
Can please also be whether, if it's a private or public school you're giving devices to?
Yes, absolutely. So it could be, we could specify that as well. So it could be, we might want to have our target market limited to just public schools, Shamala is saying, or private schools, definitely. And maybe our vision is to sell to both public and private schools. You guys see what Shamala is saying? Yep, that's a very good point, absolutely. Anything else?
So the vision is what you want to accomplish within a certain period of time?
Right, in the future. Where is it we want our business to be in the future? The mission is, what business are we in now? How do we define our business now? And there's a lot of information that we could use to support that, but the mission statement should be really short. So really not more than 2 or 3 sentences, and it's something that everybody in the organization should be able to internalize. Everybody needs to know what the mission is. So whether, not just the CEO of the company, not just the vice presidents, but the marketing managers, the supervisors, the staff in the mailroom, the janitors, everybody should know this is the business that we're in. This is what we do. What do? We sell educational devices K through 9 in North America. High quality educational devices to K through 9 students in North America. Everybody should know that. What is it that we do? We could add to that. That's basically 1 sentence, but we could add to that. Maybe we want to say something about that we're doing that in a way that's socially responsible. That's socially responsible and sensitive to the needs of our stakeholders. So the stakeholders, remember, includes the stockholders. It also includes the customers, the employees, the community. Absolutely. Now, in terms of marketing metrics, how are we going to measure performance? So in chapter 2, we talk about some marketing metrics. We talked about so far profit. So one of the ways we know that we're doing a good job as a marketing executive, right, Fifi?
Yes.
Is profit. We measure the level of profit for the organization. So that's not our only measure, but certainly we want to be profitable. And even a not-for-profit organization is still profitable. A company that is not-for-profit, that doesn't mean they don't make any money or they're not allowed to make money. A not-for-profit designation is a designation that's granted by the Internal Revenue Service. That just means that their income is taxed differently. It doesn't mean that you can't make any money. Not-for-profit companies make money. They make a lot of them, well, I shouldn't say a lot. Some of them make a lot of money. And some of their executives get paid a lot of money. So it's okay to measure the success of the company based on how much profit it generates. If ideally, hopefully, some of that profit goes to the community and allows the company to do things that are environmentally friendly. Are those important objectives? So should the company be a good corporate citizen? So when we talk about values, what would be an example of a value? A value is that the company would be a good corporate citizen, that it would be honest, that it would operate in a way that's transparent. Are those meaningful values? So, greed is not good. What do you think? Or do you think greed is good? Think about that. That's one of the questions on the survey, is whether or not greed is good. So greed can be a motivator for some, but we need to think about what are the implications from people being driven by greed. So marketing metrics include profit. It includes the level of sales. Now sales can be dollar sales. So how much dollar sales did we generate? And also unit sales. So how many units did we sell? Did we sell 10,000 units? Did we sell 10 million units? And how many units, we need to forecast how many units we expect to sell in the future. Because we need to cover both our fixed costs and our variable costs. What are our fixed costs? Sometimes I ask that on the exam and students write, fixed costs are costs that are fixed. I'm not kidding. Stuff like this you can't make up. Fixed costs are costs that are fixed. Yes, that's true. Right, Shamala? That's true. Fixed costs are costs that are fixed, Madeline, right? So fixed costs are costs that are fixed, but really, to expand upon that, we need to understand that fixed costs are costs that don't vary with the production volume. So whether we make, the reason why we care about that is because it means that whether we sell 1 unit or 1 million units, our fixed costs are the same. That's a problem, especially if we only sell 1 unit. That means if we only sell 1 unit and our fixed cost is still $10 billion, we can't be profitable. So we need to sell a lot of units so that we could spread those fixed costs across a lot of units. That's known as fixed cost absorption. It's an accounting term, fixed cost absorption. That means each unit absorbs a part of the fixed cost. So the more units that we sell, the smaller the amount each unit will have to absorb. Yes, go ahead. Tell us your name.
Yeah, see, I didn't catch the definition for fixed cost. Could you just repeat?
Fixed costs are costs that don't vary with the production volume. So the fixed cost is going to be the same. Let's say the fixed cost is $10 billion. The fixed cost is $10 billion whether we sell 1 unit or we sell 10 million units. The variable costs are costs that vary with the production volume. The variable costs are costs that are variable, but they vary with the production volume. So if the variable cost, let's say, is $1, so let's say we make a product that's made of plastic. And to make that product, we need 3 ounces of plastic. 3 ounces of plastic costs $1. So if 3 ounces of plastic costs $1, and that's our variable cost, it's not the only type of variable cost, but certainly the raw material is a type of variable cost. Because why? If the variable cost is $1 per unit, and we make 1 unit, our variable cost is how much? $1. If we make 10 units, our variable costs are $10. Wow, you guys are amazing. You are the best students ever. No joke. For reals, for reals. Now what about if you make 100 units? What's the variable cost? Well, now you're not sure. We're getting into the double-digit numbers now, right? $100. What about 1,000,000 units? So $1 million. So if the variable cost is $1 and we make 1,000,000 units, that means our variable cost went from $1 total to $1 million. Our total variable cost is now $1 million. If we make 10 million units, our total variable cost is now $10 million. So we went from $1 million to $10 million. So our total variable cost is now $10 million. How much is our fixed cost? Still $10 billion. Our fixed costs, we said are costs that are fixed. You see why now? So the fixed costs don't vary with the production quantity. So whether we make 1 million or 10 million or 100 million or even just 1 unit, our fixed cost is still going to be the same. In our example, we said the fixed cost is $10 billion. But the variable cost, which is $1 per unit, is going to change. We said if we make 1 unit, our total variable cost is $1. 10 units, $10. 100 units, $100. 1 million units, $1 million. 10 million units, $10 million. So you see why we call that a variable cost? It varies with the production volume. The fixed cost doesn't. The fixed cost is what's really scary, is because that's really what has the largest impact on our ability to be profitable in many situations, for many manufacturing organizations. Because when, let's say, a $10 billion fixed cost, how could we be profitable if we only make 1 unit, or 10 units, or 100 units, if it's a consumer product that's, let's say, selling for $100? Now, if you have a $10 billion fixed cost and you're selling equipment to industry, and each one that you sell is $50 million, well, okay, that's something different. Then we'd be able to cover our fixed costs without producing 10 million of those. Questions? No questions? All right, let's keep going. So, marketing metrics, profit, sales. We said unit sales, and we just talked about why the units, the total units, are important, because it is going to help us determine our level of profitability by taking into account the variable cost and the fixed cost. Will allow us to determine our break-even volume, so how many units we need to make and sell to be profitable. Market share. So market share is a level of our success. It's a marketing metric, marketing share. So if I told you that our company, our shampoo company, sold 50,000 cases of shampoo last year, should we be cheering? Should we go out partying, do shots of tequila? What do you think? 50,000 cases of shampoo. Is that good? What do you think? Yes, go ahead.
Depends on your fixed cost.
Depending on your fixed costs, so we don't know. We didn't say in this scenario what our fixed costs are, so we don't know if we're going to be able to cover our fixed costs. What else don't we know? What else don't we know? We know that we sold 50,000 cases. Ayala?
How many cases we made before?
So the year before, so last year, did we sell 80,000 cases? And this year, 50,000? Or last year, was it 40,000? And now we're selling 10,000 cases more. We don't know that. Ayala, that's a good point. Yes, go ahead.
You know how many cases our competition sold of shampoo?
How many cases our competition sold? Well, oh, now this is interesting. So our success is not absolute. It's not just that we sold 50,000 cases. What is your name? Joey. What Joey is saying is, how many cases did our competition sell? Now that starts to get interesting. That's what market share is. So let's say in the shampoo category, that the total number of cases sold was 500,000 last year. 500,000 cases of shampoo. The company that we own. Okay, so we own this shampoo company. I'm the president, of course. That makes sense, right? And the spokesperson also. And so in the industry, all companies combined in the United States, in all channels of distribution, not just convenience stores, and not just drug stores, and not just grocery stores, and not just in mass merchants. What's an example of a mass merchant? Walmart is an example of a mass merchant.
Sam's Club.
Target is an example of a mass merchant. Sam's Club is an example of a wholesale club. BJ's is an example of a wholesale club. Costco is an example of a wholesale club. Grocery stores include what? What are some examples of grocery stores? ShopRite, Key Food, Food Town, Met Food, Wallbounds, Publix, Albertsons, Food Emporium, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. Although we might want to make a clarification about Whole Foods and Trader Joe's as maybe being a specialty store, focusing on what? Organic foods. Other types of specialty stores could be like Foot Locker. It would be an example of a specialty store. What else? Best Buy would be an example of a specialty store.
Finish line.
Finish Line, yep, absolutely. So we need to understand in all channels of distribution how many cases were sold. We said it's 500,000. Our company sold 50,000 cases, which means our share of the market is, nobody knows? 10%. So of 500,000 cases, we sold 50,000 cases. That's 10%. 10% of the cases sold were sold by our company. That's our market share. Our unit market share of shampoo is 10%. So what about now? Should we party? So that's a nice business to have 10% of the market is a nice business to have. We probably are very profitable. We're making a lot of money, and we drive a Lamborghini and Maserati and a Tesla. So the market share is an important metric because it tells us how we're doing relative to the competition. So it's not just, we're not evaluating our performance in a vacuum, just that, oh, we sold 50,000 units. Well, we need to have a sense of perspective. 50,000 units out of 500,000 units. Oh, okay. That gives us a sense of perspective. So market share is an important marketing metric. And of course, over time, what we're tracking to see is, did it go from 10% to 11% to 15% to 18%? So in of itself, we don't need to really get too hung up on it as 10%, but certainly one of our objectives, one of our goals is that it would go from 10% over time to 15% or maybe 20%. Does that seem reasonable? A reasonable goal or objective is to increase our market share?
Yes.
Another marketing metric is the level of customer satisfaction. How are we going to determine that?
Survey.
Yes, surveys, marketing research. We're going to do some marketing research this semester. What is our first questionnaire going to be about?
Ethics.
How many think ethics? Raise your hand. Ethics! Yes, ethics. Good. Shema? Ethics, right? All right, ethics. So the first questionnaire is going to be about ethics. So we could measure the level of customer satisfaction by doing questionnaires, asking our customers to complete a questionnaire about their level of satisfaction. That's an important marketing metric, is to measure the level of customer satisfaction. We could also use the level of social responsibility. So for example, how much money do we donate to charity? That's an important marketing metric. So all of those are marketing metrics.
Can you just repeat those one more time?
So examples of marketing metrics: profit, sales, market share, profit, sales, market share, customer satisfaction, social responsibility. All of those are types of marketing metrics, ways that we could measure our performance.
Can you repeat one more time?
Profit, sales, market share, customer satisfaction, and social responsibility.
Can you just explain social responsibility?
Yeah, so social responsibility has to do with being a good corporate citizen, demonstrating a responsibility towards the communities in which we operate. So, for example, giving money to charities in the community, giving money to local hospitals, giving money to build parks in the community, giving money to plant trees in the community, operating in a way that minimizes pollution in the communities in which we operate. Those are some examples of social responsibility. So it says that we have an obligation. We have an obligation as an organization to society to behave in a way that's ethical and to give back, to be philanthropists. So think about how much money, how much profit, how many billions of dollars in profit companies make. Is it reasonable that they use some of that money to minimize the amount of toxic pollution that comes from their manufacturing facility? Even though it might cost them $25 million a year to do that, isn't it reasonable to expect that they spend that $25 million so that people in the community don't develop lung cancer? What do you think? But what about if that $25 million would bankrupt the company? Should they still do it anyway?
No.
Should they spend the $25 million so that the people in the community don't get lung cancer, but the company is going to be less profitable and maybe actually go bankrupt? Think about that. That's an ethical dilemma, isn't it? That's one of the things that we're trying to achieve this semester, is to enhance your awareness of ethical issues. Because maybe your initial reaction is, well, the company can't go bankrupt, that's unacceptable. But then, what about all those people that are going to have lung cancer? Is that okay? So what do? We just pay off their families, because that costs less than $25 million. All those people who get cancer, we just give them each $1 million, and that's way less than $25 million a year to minimize the amount of pollution. So we do that cost-benefit analysis. Do you think companies ever did that before? Yes, go ahead.
You know what they tried to do when they were doing that whole hydrofracking thing? They tried to pay out the families to move from that area, even though it would kill, like, because the gas would get into the water and stuff like that. Did that actually work? I don't remember.
Well, if they move the people, that's not such a bad idea. The problem is with fracking, which is a way to extract natural gas from below the surface, is that they use chemicals to be able to get the gas to gain access to the gas. And those chemicals are very toxic. And so what happens is they go into a community, they try to extract the natural gas, and they use all these chemicals, and then people develop cancer. But just think about all that natural gas that you're getting. But Teresa's saying on their behalf that sometimes, maybe not intentionally on their behalf, is sometimes they try to get people to move from those areas. Say, we'll buy your house, move from here, we're going to do fracking, which is a term used to extract gas. Okay, let's talk about the BCG model. So we need to, as a business, we need to look at our portfolio. So we have a portfolio. We're going to talk about the BCG model. Party people. So the BCG model, BCG stands for Boston Consulting Group. So the Boston Consulting Group created its model to do portfolio analysis. So we're going to operate a business that sells multiple products. So our product, let's say our electronics company, our products include TVs. So we're a global company. We sell TVs. We sell tablets. We sell phones. We sell printers. We sell gaming consoles. We sell cameras. We sell video cams. Those are all electronics, right? Products that an electronics company sells in this scenario. So our electronics company sells these products. TVs. Who can read us the list? Tell us. Go ahead. What is our product? What are the products that our company sells? Who could tell us? So one person, raise your hand. Two people, raise your hand. Somebody. Who knows? Go ahead. Madeline.
Television, cell phones, printers, tablets, computers. You said electronic, right?
Electronics. So everybody got what Madeline said? Tablets, TVs, cell phones, printers, gaming consoles, video cameras, digital cameras. Those are all electronic products sold by our company. And importantly, those are each strategic business units. In chapter 2, we talk about SBUs. So each of those are a strategic business unit. We have a strategic business unit for cameras. We have a strategic business unit for tablets. We have a strategic business unit for phones. We have a strategic business unit for gaming consoles. Because the target market and the target audience is different. And also the competitive set very often is going to be different. So the company is operated not as a functional organization, but using a product structure based on the product type. So the question is, so that's our portfolio. Our portfolio consists of all those products. The question is, how are those SBUs performing? So we have to be able to rank them. We have to find a way to rank them. So that's what the Boston Consulting Group model does, the BCG model does, is it is a way to analyze our portfolio. So there's 4 classifications. Stars, I'm back. Stars, question marks, cash cows, and dogs. All right. So let's see. So, stars. Question marks. Now I'm going to draw the dog. You ready? So that's the dog. Can you see that? Draw it over here. I don't want you to miss this.
That is terrifying.
See, that's the dog.
That's a sick dog.
You don't think it's a dog? It's a dinosaur? That's a different model, the dinosaur model. This one is the dog and the cash cow. But believe me, it's a dog. It looks like a dinosaur, but it's really a dog. All right, so what does the BCG model tell us? So it tells us that the growth rate for the stars is high and the market share is high. So on this axis, we're looking at the growth rate . On this axis, the market share. So this matrix is a way to classify our portfolio. So one way to do that is to look at 4 different aspects based on the growth rate and the market share. All right, did everybody see that now? So this is the growth rate, high, low. this is the market share, right? We're just talking about market share. So that's a dog. You guys okay? You sure? There's no confusion about that. Don't let your imagination run wild. Okay, so in the upper left-hand corner, we have the stars. So what we're going to put here is we're going to list those SBUs that we consider to be stars. How do we determine if they're stars? How many employees they have? No. How much their sales are? No. Not according to this model. Those might be useful measures. We might want to take that into account, but in this model, we're going to look at the growth rate. So stars are those SBUs that have a high growth rate. That means the category is growing, their business is doing well. Even if the category is not growing, we need to look at the growth of our business. So the growth rate here is about the growth rate of the category. So is it a new category that's growing very rapidly? Or is the category very large but not growing? So for example, the beverage industry in the United States at retail is over $200 billion per year. That's a very large category. $200 billion. The category for pots and pans in the United States is only about $3 billion. It's a nice category and it's a nice business to have if you sell pots and pans in the United States, but it's not $200 billion at retail. So $200 billion, the beverage category includes water, soda, milk, orange juice. It includes orange juice, and it includes alcohol, right? It includes alcohol, and alcohol includes, well, I don't need to tell you guys this, beer, wine, and spirits. Now, that category is very large, but it's not growing, really. It's what we consider to be a mature category. We're going to talk more in a different class, a different session about the product life cycle, which includes several stages: introduction, growth, maturity, decline, obsolescence, and sometimes even revitalization. But what I'm telling you today is that the beverage category, for all intents and purposes, even though it's growing 2 to 3% per year, is basically a mature category. So in this model, when we talk about the market growth rate, we would say that the growth rate is low. So it wouldn't be a star if that was our business, if we were looking at the beverage category.
You said it wouldn't be?
No, it wouldn't, because in order to be a star, the growth rate for the market has to be high, and our market share also has to be high. So according to this model, an SBU, one of our SBUs that we would classify as a star, operates in a market that is growing, and we have a high market share. So it might be, let's say for example, for our electronics company, that our cell phone business that we have is a star because the market is growing. The rate of adoption in the United States continues to increase. So it's a market that's growing, and we have a large market share. That we would classify as a star.
Like Apple?
Well, it could be Apple, right? So Apple, for example, if we were doing a portfolio analysis for them, so their iPhone, we would say that that category, the growth rate of wireless communication of cell phones is growing. We might even want to be more specific and say smartphones. And our market share is high. So for Apple, their iPhone would be a star. Now, what about the cash cow? So the cash cow would be a category that has low growth, but we have a high market share. So in the beverage industry, we said that the category is mature, it's not growing, but only 2%, 3% per year, which basically is mature, because other categories like in electronics and other technology-related categories, the category is growing 20, 30, 40, 50% per year in the United States. That's what we mean by growth. 2%, yes, it's growing, but that's not what we consider to be growth when we're looking at this model. That's not significant growth. So, that being said though, we might have a large share of the market. Even though the growth rate of the market is low, so the market is not growing, but we have a significant share. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's a cash cow for the company. Because the market is mature, it's not growing, but it's not declining either, and we have a large market share. That means that we're not selling 50,000 cases, we're selling 250,000 cases. 250,000 cases of shampoo means that we have 50% of a market that's not growing. So what? It's not growing. Growth is not the only criteria. It's not growing, but we're one of the market share leaders with 50% of the market, selling 250,000 cases of shampoo per year. That's a cash cow. That money, now, as marketers, we're not going to invest all our money into the cash cows because the category is not growing. So unless we can figure out a way to reinvent the category so that it does grow, basically, we're expecting that we're going to sell 250,000 cases of shampoo every year. Now, we would like to think that with advertising, we could sell a little bit more. With promotions, we could sell more. There's other things that we could do to try and increase the number of units that we sell. But the category is not growing. What we're going to do, the reason why we call it a cash cow is because we're going to milk that cow. We're going to use the money that we generate, the profits that we generate from the cash cow to grow the stars. So to invest in the stars, those that are in high growth categories. So if the category is growing 25, 35, 45% per year, don't we want to continue to sell more every year? Not just 1% or 5%, but 20% per year, 30% more per year, 50% more per year. Well, that means we're going to have to invest in marketing. We're going to have to spend money on TV commercials and print ads and sales promotions and trade promotions and sweepstakes and contests. We're going to need to have an entire integrated marketing communication plan, IMC. Now, there's the question mark. Sometimes we refer to that as the problem child. The problem child is one where we're operating in a high growth category and our market share is low. So the category is growing 20, 30, 40% per year, but we have a small percentage of the market. That's a question mark. Do you see why? We don't know where that's going. The market is growing, but we don't have a lot of share. So we need to decide, we need to make a strategic decision. What are we going to do here? Are we going to start investing? We're in a category, we have a foothold in a category, not a very good foothold, but we are operating in a category that's growing, but we have a very small percentage of the market. So we need to decide what we're going to do. We need to decide whether we're going to invest in the problem childs, in the question marks. So we might have some problem childs in our portfolio. We might have some strategic business units that are question marks, like I said, also known as problem children. Now, the dog in this model, so remember we're using this model to classify our SBUs. So each of our SBUs are going to be in one of these four categories. It's either going to be a star, a question mark, a cash cow, or a dog. Not to be confused with a dinosaur or a crocodile. So a dog, those SBUs that we would classify as being a dog have low market share and low growth. So the category is not growing significantly, if at all, and our market share is very low. So we might have 1% or 2% share in the category, and what? The category isn't growing. So we need to decide whether or not we're going to spin off that business. Because we have a limited amount of market share and the category isn't growing. So this is a tool that we use to do portfolio analysis. What's in our portfolio? Those SBUs. What are the SBUs in our business? The SBU that sells tablets. We have another SBU that sells phones. We have another SBU that sells what? Cameras. Another SBU that sells gaming consoles. So we need to classify each of those SBUs so that we could allocate our resources accordingly. How do we know who gets a $100 million advertising budget? What do we just give it to eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Do we give, if we have 10 SBUs and we have a $100 million budget, do we give them each $10 million? Or should we give one SBU $50 million and the other 9, $5 million each? How do we decide that? Well, we need to do a portfolio analysis. We need to analyze our portfolio and determine which ones are growing and which ones are operating in a category, in a market that's growing, and which one has a large market share in the category in which they operate. Questions about that? This is known as portfolio analysis.